now. I appreciate the witnesses' willingness to be here and to point out some very important things to us, both strategically and morally, that I think will affect the future of the United States and global peace, which is ultimately what every warrior wants. Anybody who's ever put their life on the line to go overseas for their nation does not want war. I don't want my sons to go serve overseas and die. I want them to live. I want them to live in peace. With that, I think it's very important to recognize what we've done and what the consequences are. In February of 2021, the Biden administration removed the Houthis, which were on the Foreign Terrorist Organization designation and their specially designated global terrorist group designation when the Trump administration had put it in place. At the time, Secretary Blinken cited humanitarian concerns as the reasons for these decisions, saying that the humanitarian aid could not reach the Yemeni people if these designations remain in place. I want to make a few points. I went on the first freshman Codell to Bangladesh, the largest refugee camp in the world. 1 million people that have been displaced through violence, who are living off of now $8 per person per month. There's people all over, we have a record number of refugees all over the world right now, starving, displaced, being raped, being killed constantly. And yet we're more worried about idealism than realism when it comes to who we aid and who we abet. And this is the problem. When we talk about worrying about designations so that we can help a people that the money's not even getting to, that the help's not even getting to when you have an evil regime that's keeping the food from getting to the people who need it most. And instead, we've created an environment where the Iranians when we're talking about realism and who we're trying to assist and who we're trying to claim as our friends.
We should not be assisting a genocide. Ceasefire now. Free Palestine. American taxpayers don't want this to happen.
I think it goes without saying that I'll reclaim my time. Okay, very good. Thank you. Ms. Leedon, do you believe that the Biden administration's reasoning for removing the Houthis from the FTO designation was accurate and the correct step in addressing the humanitarian crisis in Yemen?
No, I do not.
Do you think that the aid that has been forthcoming goes to the right people?
No, I do not.
Exactly my point. I think we need to be more concerned in supporting the resistance in Iran, for example. Those people who would stand up against the injustices against women and children, against education, against rights.
Absolute disgrace. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. Ceasefire now. No more money to Israel. This isn't complicated. You absolute disgrace for human beings.
And there we go with the absolute misunderstanding of realism versus idealism. Iran is an evil regime. It's a theocracy that oppresses its people. It has kept women from their natural God-given rights. And yet we're more concerned with not getting food to the people that when we give aid to these corrupt agencies than we are with a resistance to a regime that's actually supporting all of our enemies all around the world and actually trying to kill Americans to the hundreds and thousands of efforts with armed aggression towards our troops overseas. We've lost Navy SEALs, we've lost Army National Guard, we've lost American lives, and we've put them in jeopardy every single day for the last, not just several months, but several years because of our policy. Dr. Pollack, how would you explain the Biden administration's seemingly timid defensive response to the Houthi aggression? Is it fair to speculate that it's due in part to the administration's desire to revive the Iran nuclear deal?
Congressman, first, I would encourage you to have the administration come and defend its own policies. But since you've asked me to speculate, I can certainly do so. I do suspect that that is part of what is going on. I think that they are hoping that at some point they can get back to it. And I think that just broadly speaking, their approach has been to assume that negotiations are most likely when you start by making concessions to the other side. I understand the logic behind that, but historically, I don't think that it is ever proven to be accurate. People come to the table when they have a reason to do so. If you remove that reason for coming to the table, they either don't come or they show up not believing that they have to actually make concessions.
Well put, sir. It's been my experience in my over 20 years of Marine Corps and Navy experience around the world, whether it be in Africa, the Middle East, or the Far East, or anywhere else we're in combatant zones, that evil people only understand one thing, and that's strength. And that's what creates peace, not weakness, not concessions. And I think whether it be President Carter, President Obama, or President Biden, what I've seen is every time we give concessions, bad things are the result. And therefore, I would encourage my allies on both sides of the aisle, and I think we've made really good points from both sides of the aisle, to recognize evil and to deal with it accordingly. And with that, I yield.